guys, welcome back to Spookalicious. Long time no see. How you been,
Yeah.
BJ?
Oh, just traveling, going to different areas, just living my life to the best.
Hey. So, pretty excited about tonight's theme, that is for sure, because we're gonna be doing some creepy pasta reads. There's no such thing as being able to keep English going with this person right here. I hope each and every one of you have had a great Thursday. I would love to hear how you guys are doing. Go ahead and let us know in the chat.
Oh yeah. Welcome in everybody.
Also,
You know,
what
the real question is how have you been? That's the real question.
me? Oh,
Yes, how
I
have you been? Yes, how
I
have you been?
I have I've been good. I've been like I've dealt with some, you know, I my neck pain is finally under control, but I'm now dealing with the whole back crap. So here we go again. We're going on a trip. But hopefully that'll be taken care of soon. Um, within a couple of weeks to a month is basically what we're looking at. But otherwise, I've been good. I've been finally getting, my ADHD under control, which is nice for a change, which is like never remember anything. And but otherwise, I've been trying to stream when I can and enjoying Dead Space right now over on Twitch. So it's a lot of fun. We did some Stardew last night. God, I haven't played Stardew in forever. I had to think about what I was doing, even though I've left myself some notes. I was like, wait, how do I run this game?
That's funny.
So yeah, just been doing the best I can, which is pretty much what anybody can do in day to day.
Most
So,
definitely.
but I want to hear. I'm going to throw out a question for you guys because I know that we generally ask out like, what's your favorite ice cream flavor or whatever. I want to know, what is your favorite food? Big J, what is your favorite food?
Um, don't knock me for this, but pizza will always and forever be my favorite, but followed by that, I have to go with lasagna. I feel like hands down, lasagna is like my go-to.
Pasta Italian man. I see. I got you. I
Yeah,
got you.
you would think that I was like somewhere Italian, but I like a lot of Italian food.
I definitely don't blame you. I love a good like I have this particular pizza that I really love from a special place. It's not really that special. From a certain place, that's what I meant to say. And then my favorite pasta would have to be fettuccine alfredo. So, but my favorite food overall would have to be hot pot. I'm a huge Asian food lover, and it doesn't matter if it's Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Korean. Love all the foods from um, from that culture. It's so tasty, so flavorful, and so many different depths of flavor in there. So, but we aren't talking about a cooking channel now, are we? But I'm still wanting to hear from you guys in the chat. What is your favorite food? I want to know. I want to know. I want to
Yeah,
hear possibly maybe you guys have a different type of food I've never even heard of and I could try. I love trying new foods. So, love to hear
yeah.
from you guys.
What's up, chat? What's everybody's favorite food?
Next stream, we're going to have to ask what everybody's guilty pleasures are. That would be fun.
Hmm.
You'll have to
That,
think
that,
about that one. I'll have to even think about that one. So,
oh yeah.
all right. Well, first off, we are going to go ahead and get into a creepypasta called Never Stop at Roadside Memorials, written by N.M. Brown. Do you want to go ahead and take us off, Big J?
Uh, 1 second. I was
No
trying to make sure.
problem. And this time around, we're going to show the cover art because everybody really works hard. These you know, authors work very hard on making sure that their cover art looks really good to go with their stories. So,
The first one, right?
yes, it should be. Let me make sure. Yes, it is the first one. I didn't want to misdirect you on that one.
Okay. Dang. All right.
You got this.
So let me see. I got. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think
Come
I
on,
got.
hype them up. Hype them up, chat.
No. Oh my
Gas
goodness.
them up.
Okay. Listen. All right. So here we go. You know those type. Hold on. You know those people who you tell the time of events to 15 minutes early because you know they would be late. The ones. Oh my goodness. The ones who you would be late to their own funerals, as the saying goes. Well, that's me. Prepare as I might. I can never seem to get anywhere on time. It's the most frustrating trait ever. Yet it's absolutely almost always my fault. Oh, my tongue tied. Before I had my daughter Brian, almost 9 months old, I was one of those people who took punctuality very seriously. I was the kind of guy who looked at the traffic flow on his phone and made sure I got gas the day before. I even set my oven clock 5 minutes fast so there would always be an advantage. I was prepared for most obstacles. However, what I could prepare for was unpredictability of Brienne. Her needs and moods varied as all babies do. There was no rhyme or reason for her play. She did what she wanted when she wanted, no matter if it made sense or not. It's like she was saying, "No, Dad, I will lay here and eat my foot for exactly 1 minute and 27 seconds. If you attempt to remove it before this time passes, you will be met with total non corporation. Not to mention the crying and flaring of the limbs." We had a good enough routine before her mother left us about 3 months ago. Since then, we have just tried to make the best of our situation and establish new routines for Brian and me. There were the thoughts going through my head as I rushed to Brian's 9-month doctor checkup. We are early, set and out the door. Then what is this? This just popped up. Advertisement. Um,
They
it
love
just
to
like took
advertise on
over.
that page.
Get away! It just like totally caught me off guard. Now I'm trying to figure out where I was. Okay, so let me see. Okay, since since then we have tried to make the best of our situation. Okay, so there are these advertisements keep popping up. This is great. I'm like lost in the sauce now. It's like
You got this. I know you got it. I know it's a lot when the advertisements pop up. Mine were popping up a lot too while I was sitting here waiting before we went live.
I'm just trying to get to where it was. It's just like totally like the advertisement's just like okay, where am I? Where am I? Okay. Okay, here we go. We are early, set and out the door. Then she pokes the nipple through her bottle and pours it all over herself. So we go back into the house, clean her up, and repeat the process. It's 9:19 and her appointment's at 9:30. Great.
That's a messy baby.
It will easily take 20 minutes to get there. I'm not going to super speed or lane weave just to be on time. We will just have to be a little late again as usual. We're almost there, only about 5 miles left. I start to allow myself to relax my shoulders a little when Brienne starts swelling. On Christ, not again. Not now, I think to myself, figuring she poked her bottle open again. You can't take a dirty baby to the doctor ever, but mostly not for a checkup. It just doesn't look right. It isn't right. The pitch and repetition of her screaming are making my head feel like a kettle that's about to boil. Before it reached its crescendo of shrill whistling, I pull over. If I knew then that what I know now, I would have never stopped or would have pulled into the nearest gas station, anything other than where I choose to stop at. I pulled over to get out of the car and opened the door of the back seat. There she is, snotty and red faced, her blonde curls sticking to her face with the sweat of frustration. My little sweetheart, she looks just like her mother when she cries. It makes me sad, but I can't think about that now. She knew what she was doing when she left us. No sense in keeping her ghost around, especially in my own head. We pulled over next to a little roadside memorial. A slightly worn but still pretty silver and pink cross is placed there with flowers withered by the hands of time and various other trinkets of memorial. The name on the cross reads Emily Simple. It looks to be a child that makes me sadder to think about than when I think about my wife. It's something at least I thought a temporary mental vacation into someone else's hell to be able to escape my own. I look her over the I look her over and thankfully she hasn't spilled her bottle. Maybe still have a chance of being somewhat on time. I hand her the bottle back, wipe her face and kiss her forehead, thinking if I show her love, it will help calm her down. As if she knew, could read my mind, she threw her bottle and it bounces off of my forehead and onto the floor. Great. I haven't realized how much of a shameful mess my car has become. Napkins, empty bottles, condiment wrappers, baby toys, and maybe even a French fry or two. In my effort to retrieve the bottle, I've knocked some things out of my car onto the roadside. The wind starts to blow some of them into the road. So, not wanting to travel too far from the car, I grab what I can and stuff the items back into the back seat on the floor to be cleaned or forgotten about at a later date. Sorry. We make it to the doctor's office a whopping 20 minutes late. I sheepishly grin and apologize, hoping they can still see her and I don't have to make another appointment to come back. The front desk ladies' voices are understanding, but their eyes certainly had not been. Perhaps they softened when they saw me juggling a baby car seat with a very loud pink diaper bag falling off of my shoulder repeatedly as I tried to continue to calm her down. Yes, she will still welling away. A nurse with a worn face, but kind eyes, comes over to us. Now, little lady, What seems to be the matter? The face is too beautiful to be scrunched up screaming like that. Are you hungry? Do you want daddy to rock you? She turns her gaze to me with a smile. Why don't you take her out, daddy, and bounce her in your arms a bit? Some babies just hate to be in their car seats any longer than they have to be. I smile, thank her, and take her advice just as I get her out and sit down with her, the door opens. Michael Hollander and baby Brian, we are ready to see you now. Come on back to the room 4 with the white and yellow clouds. I gather up all of the things, head back to the room. Brienne finally settles down and snuggles into my shoulder, her thumbs in her mouth, so I knew all was well in Brienville. That's one of her happy places. Taking the thumb train to the Breville, her mom used to say. The two vaccinations had a the two vaccinations had a few spoons of ice cream. Later, we pulled back in the driveway, ready to recover from the whole ordeal. As I pull her seat out of the car, I noticed a little pink elephant with a yellow star on its side. I pick it up and hand it to her as I take her into the house. I don't remember buying this for her. It probably came from her grandmother's house. She's always dotes on her. Every time she is out and sees something babyish, she's always gets it for her. It was just too cute, and Mimi couldn't leave it in there when Brienne would love it so much, she says. Rena, or Mimi, as she proclaims herself, is Brienne's maternal grandmother. Since my wife left us, she's gone above and beyond to step up and be there for us. I think it makes her feel better about the situation, as if she somehow feels. These ads are going to be the death of me. We're going to make a creepy pasta about Jay when he gets caught up in the advertisement.
The ads of no return.
Like, oh my goodness, like I'm just like I'm reading it and I'm trying to find it, and it's like the ads just keep popping up and it's like getting bad. um
Wondering if it would be easier next time for us to just have it like copy and paste it on a Word document.
Probably because the ads are like it keeps jumping it from like
Let me work on
keeps
that right now then. We're going to take a brief pause and then we're going to work on that really quick so that way we can make sure that we have everything that we need. Toulouse, you're going to have to move, big thicky boy. My big thicky man's. My big thicky boy.
By the way, how's everybody doing? That's very scary when I'm trying to read a creepy pasta to y'all and it just keeps getting ghost. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to send it right now through Discord, if that's okay. Just because
yeah,
we'll have to set up the. No, big thick boy, no.
yeah, that's fine.
Uh,
By the way, how's it going, everybody? Queen Moo, um, War Machine. Uh, who else is in here? Relentless. Over on YouTube, we see you as well, Mr. Poff. How's everybody doing? Welcome, welcome in. Anybody that's tuned in, we appreciate you guys coming and showing love and support. Um, Meanwhile, while she's doing that, I would ask you guys, what is your favorite scary story, scary movie, scary book? Questions like that. I'll take that. We'll kind of switch it up while we're getting creepypastas in order. You can even throw in a scary game if you want. Anything scary, just throw it out there. I can tell you, I'm looking forward to a certain scary game, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
When's that coming out?
It has been told that it was supposed to be sometime this month. Hi, Ms. Murder, how you doing? But I'm not sure. There's also a rumor saying that if you have Game Pass, you can play it for free.
Okay.
Because I was trying to actually buy the game and it won't even let you like pre-order it. So
interesting. That's a little weird.
Yeah, so I'm kind of interested to see what's gonna happen with that. Oh yeah. I know everybody likes Dead by Daylight. It's a good game. It's up there, but I feel like Friday the 13th could have been better than that game. That's my opinion. But because of the lawsuit and everything, it fell down. But it had the potential to be one of the best survival games out there, which is why I'm banking on Texas Chainsaw Massacre to just be like one of the best games. Because I don't know if y'all seen the trailer for it, but y'all need to see the trailer for it. Like, it is super creepy. Like, whew, Leatherface ain't the one, yo.
Let's see. We should almost be done. All right, we have everything in Discord for you.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out where I left off.
Let me see here.
Okay, I think no. Hold on. Feels okay. I think I found it.
Okay.
As if she somehow feels responsible for her daughter's selfishness and actions. My mother is long gone. Irina is such a beautiful part of life. I would never do anything to take that away from either of them. It's hard to find people you trust to help you, and it's become so hard to do on your own. My phone rings. Speaking of, it's Rena calling. She had hold me to call her after the appointment was over, and I had forgotten. I quickly tried to think of a somewhat acceptable excuse while I placed Brienne in her crib. Coming up with nothing and mentally exhausted, I answered the phone. Hello, I answered. Hello, Michael. How did baby girl's appointment go today? You know how I worry about our princess, she said to me. A couple of shots and some tears. Nothing a little ice cream couldn't fix. She's in the 78th percentile for height and 74th for the weight, and Doc says is doing beautifully. I replied proudly. I can hear a subtle sign of relief from her end of the phone. Good. I am glad she's doing okay. Do you both have plans for the day? There's a hopeful tone in her voice as she asks this. No one really am. No, nothing really. I'm just going to get some cleaning done and maybe head out to the store later to fill up the freezer. She made a sound of disapproval. Mike, you can't take her out running around all over. She just got shots today and you don't know how she will handle them. Why don't you bring her on here? Why, why don't you bring her here over? Why don't you bring her over here for the day? That way you can do your shopping and clean the house in peace while we have Mimi and Brienne time. After the meltdown, the outfit changes earlier. Mimi time does sound like a good idea. I would miss her, but I could get so much more done and maybe even take a nap. She
Naps.
will, yeah, they're very important. Naps are very important, ladies and gentlemen. She will most likely sleep most of the day, anyways, as she always does on shot days. I agree and tell her we will be over in about half an hour. That gives me time to feed her, lunch pack her back up, and bring her over. I start the car, turn on some tunes, and head down the road. It's a beautiful day, and for once I don't mind driving. I get to spend it fantasizing about my forbidden day time nap I get to take later. I stop at what seems to be the hundredth stoplight, even though it was really on the third. Tom Petty's velvet voice comes across the radio, so I reach down to turn up the volume. The light turns green and I start to accelerate, humming along and excited to get to her grandmother's house. Suddenly, I feel a shock powerful enough move my whole car. It feels as though my teeth are broken and cutting my cheeks from the inside. The car flips once, twice. I suddenly so I feel my head bounce off the steering wheel. All I can think about is my back seat. The car comes to a stop on its hood. My body is burning with white hot pain. What I thought were my teeth were actually broken glass from the windows. I must have gotten hit, possibly T-bone. I started to fear. My head swims and my eyes become heavy. I feel like a computer shutting down one application at a time. I am trying to use all of my senses to help me. I hear silence, no crying, no screaming. For the first time ever, I am terrified at the sound of her silence. I manage to look back to the one mirror that survived the crash. I see my little angel in the backseat upside down, firmly secured in her car seat, motionless, her neck bent at an unnatural angle and blood everywhere. The last thing I see before I lose consciousness is a little girl in front of my windshield. Her face is dirty and she is wearing what I guess must have been at one time a white dress with yellowed daisies on it. I fade away. My eyes shoot open as the phone rings. I'm at home in my chair. I jolt up and out to my mirror. I feel my head where it hit the steering wheel, and there's nothing. There is no pain, no bruises, no cuts, nothing. Confused, I run to Brienne's room. She's sleeping peacefully in her crib. Either I am losing my mind, or that was the most realistic dream I ever had. I rush to her. She wakes up and is smiling at me. The little hands drop something as I lift her up. I look down to see the little pink elephant with the yellow star. I must have fallen asleep after her appointment today. The phone rings again and startles me. My heart springs to life, thinking it might be my wife. Maybe her mom is calling to check on her. Say that she misses us, that she lost her mind and wants to come back. I look at my phone and it's Rena. I don't answer and let it go to voicemail. I'm still shaken up from that experience and need to get my shit together. I will call her later. My phone then buzzes with a text message. It's Rena, and it says, "Hey Michael, just calling to check on Rena. Doctor's appointment today. If you don't have anything going on, please bring her over. I would love to spend the day with her. Talk to you soon." Well, I'm definitely not going to be driving anywhere after what happened earlier, so I turn on some Netflix for me and my kiddo. I pop some popcorn for myself and sit down next to her on the couch. I let her snuggle onto me and we settle in the like that for a little while. Halfway through my popcorn bowl, she starts to eye it. She would look from me to the bowl and then back again. She lets out an irritated grunt and furrows her brow, looking towards my bowl, smiling and thankful to have her. I let her have a piece. I walk to the bathroom, satisfied, and she's at peace in one spot for once. I'm only in there for 45 seconds, a minute at most. The living room is silent, and Brian is on the floor looking under the couch with her butt in the air. I wait to see what she was doing, figuring she will pull some lost treasure out of there and try to eat it. She doesn't move. I walk over to her and call out her, "You spilled Dada's popcorn monkey butt. Did you find something good under there?" She doesn't respond, doesn't move, doesn't breathe. My heart drops and I rush to her. I pick her up and roll her over. She's like a limp doll and her face is blue. I look over to the popcorn bowl. I try everything. I turn her upside down and hit her back. I try to put my fingers down her throat to remove the obstruction. There was nothing, nothing that I can do. It's just her lifeless body and the pink elephant at her feet. I moan and scream in agony as I fumble my cell phone to call 911. My head spins as I start to lose my breath. I look out of the window and again I see the little girl wearing the dress with daisies outside and down the street, staring in the direction of my house. Things tilt sideways, and then the ground rushes up to meet me. I fade away. I wake up again to my phone ringing once again, and I let it go to voicemail. My heart is beating so fast that I can hardly catch my breath. I am very much still in the situation my mind was just put in. No surprise, it's Rena again, or maybe for the first time. I'm not even sure at this point, honestly. I can't think straight. I have seen things no parent should ever see. Who is that little girl in the dress? Why is this happening to us? Again, I rush to Breen's room. Again, she is there sleeping, holding the pink elephant in her hand. I take it away and set it aside. She wakes up and smiles at me. I reach down to touch her hand, and she reaches hers up to me, slowly falling back to sleep. I let it all melt away, soaking up her smile, whatever is going on, whatever hell I was stuck in right now, we were here. Right now, we are very much alive and okay. Today, we won't do anything. There will be no car trips, no popcorn, no toys in her crib, no anything that can hurt my little girl. It's my only job in life to protect her, and I'll die trying. The same text messages appears from Rihanna and I decide to call her back. I try to sound as calm as I can, mentioning the same details about the doctor's appointment. This time, however, I declined the offer to come over, deciding not to tell her about the horrifying events of the day. We arranged for me to drop her off the next Sunday, and she asks, "What is baby girl doing right now?" I reply, "She is asleep in her bed holding onto the elephant." Hey, do you have, hey, you have no idea how much she loves that. Where did you find it? There's a pause. Michael, I never got her an elephant toy. I would have remembered. I make an excuse about Brian waking up and hang up the phone, feeling dazed. I got to Brian. I will take her into the room and put her in my bed with me all day. Nothing can hurt us. We just have to make it through the day, and this nightmare will all be over. I approach her crib, and she is still there. She lays silent, not moving, not breathing. I frantically look around the room for something to hit myself with, something, anything to make me pass out so we can begin this again. So I can have my brand again. I lost her mother. I cannot and will not lose her too. Where she goes, I go. She is my only life left in this world. It it turns out I don't have to find anything. I feel my breath slow and the room tilt. The little girl in the dress, angry eyes follow me all the way to the floor. The phone rings. I wake up, ignore it, the call. You know the drill. I run to my daughter and wake her up. Only one thing matters today. I run to the car with her and strap her into the seat. We take off in the direction of her doctor's office. I pray I get there in time. No red lights and no accidents. I get there, the pink and silver cross, pull over, the contents of my stomach emptying themselves down the side of my car as I rushed out of it. Open the book, open the back door, and grab the elephant from Brienne. Her eyes get big and her lip puffs out with the threat of an oncoming tears. That doesn't matter, though. I have what I need. I look to the sky and scream out, I'm sorry, Emily. We didn't mean to. Please leave my baby alone. I will never meant to take it. I never meant to take it. She deserves to live. There are tears falling from my eyes and spit is flying from my lips. Please. I gently place the elephant next to the cross and back away. I hope to God that I did the right thing. We just need to make it through one whole day.
Wow. So just by accidentally grabbing a stuffed animal at a cross, this poor man went through so much hell with this child. That is insane. That was well done.
Wow. Yeah, that was.
That spirit was very very angry. She was like, "I want my elephant back, damn it."
Yo, yeah, hello everybody. Welcome in, welcome in. How's everybody doing? We're doing creepy pastas. Welcome to the show. Spookalicious. Me and my co-host, Crafty Fox. If y'all haven't followed her, make sure y'all show her some love. She is on YouTube right now, but she streams on Twitch mainly. So just spread the love, and if y'all haven't followed me already, I appreciate it. Appreciate it. I am also on YouTube too, so
Gotta spread it out, not put too many eggs in one basket. That's for sure.
true.
So that was an interesting story. Didn't see that coming. I thought it was gonna be some kind of like ghost story or something like that. Definitely wasn't expecting. Oh, I accidentally took a stuffed animal, and now this spooky ghost child is coming for my child. I hope that even though we don't know how it all ends and if it's okay, I hope that it is okay. I hope that putting the stuffed animal back appeased Emily's soul and allowed this kid and this father to be able to live a happy life.
Yeah, that was sad that he had to go through that. Like I wouldn't even want to tell somebody to imagine that, but just, you know what I mean? Like, imagine having to go through that. Like, I would be broke.
Absolutely.
I'd be broke.
All right. So our next is going to be called Be Home by Midnight on Halloween night.
Mm.
So I come to find out that this is actually a prequel to its next to the next story that I'll read. So it kind of just worked out perfectly. I chose its you know, the one that comes after it, and then all of a sudden there was this yellow box that was like, before you read, there was a pre-story, and I was like, oh really? Okay, got you. We're gonna do it. So growing up, my dad would tell me scary stories, ones he claimed he experienced during his childhood. His stories would both fascinate and terrify me. As I grew older, the stories he would share became less frequent until they eventually came to an end. Maybe because I stopped believing, I had come to the conclusion that in a fun, twisted way, he was just finding enjoyment by filling my young imagination with haunted visions. However, after a recent trip home, my mind had been changed. I believe him, and I think his childhood stories are more rooted in reality than I would like to admit. Earlier this month, I returned home from college for a quick weekend visit with the family. I was sitting on the living room couch, and my dad was in his cozy recliner. We were flipping channels when we stopped on one with the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. That's when I asked him if he remembered the scary stories he would tell me as a kid. I was expecting a smile response, but to my surprise, he seemed oddly serious. I chuckled out loud as his reaction, or at his reaction rather, but with a straight face. My dad looked directly at me and said, everything he once told me was the truth. We continued to talk, and he reminded me that his family had moved to a small town in Mississippi when I was about 8 years old. The house, or when he was about 8 years old, rather, the house across the street was vacant, boarded up, and he would quickly come to discover it was haunted. It was 2 stories and sat tilted like it would collapse at any moment. His parents would warn him to stay away, but that did not stop his curiosity. It was not until several years later that the house was demolished, mysteriously leaving behind only the front wooden staircase and a stone-covered well on the now eerie open field property. He thought that once the house was gone, things might be normal. He had experienced enough strange encounters firsthand and also through stories his group of young friends would share amongst each other. But he said it wasn't just the house, nor the oddities that took place in his neighborhood, but the entire town he grew up in was far from ordinary. The more I listened to him, the more I started to believe again. I asked him to tell me one of his many Halloween stories. He obliged, asking if I remembered the one about the disappearance of his best friend Jake, an event that still haunts him to this day. My parents would never let me go out trick-or-treating alone, even in high school. And I remember this because this caused me quite some embarrassment with my friends. I joked with him, saying that all he did was shelter me from having adolescent Halloween fun. You can blame my apocalyptic apocalyptis what? Hold on. Yeah. He responded. I had never heard that word before. So I asked him what it meant. Sounded like something he made up. Google it, he said. Believe it or not, there is a phobia for everything, even for your most obscure fears. My dad continued saying he just wanted to be a good parent. He was only trying to protect me, to ensure I returned home safe and was in bed by night's end. He has never forgotten about his friend Jake and the Halloween they spent in the park, waiting for the O-Lantern Man. Jake was my dad's first friend when he moved to the small river town. They met at school. They would spend most of their free time hanging out around the neighborhood. Jake conveniently lived just a couple of streets away. As they grew older, Jake quickly gathered the reputation of being the bad boy. He was always up to trouble and began spending more time in detention than in class. There are some stories my dad would rather not share with me, mostly because he was a bit ashamed of his behavior, but Jake's antics would occasionally influence his decisions for the worse. One day, Jake vanished. He stopped showing up for class freshman year of high school, and the rumors circulated around the town were that he was sent to boarding school. His house was deserted and soon had a for sale sign out front. Roughly a year or so passed, and a lot of my dad's questions about what had happened to Jake went unanswered. That is, until Halloween night, when Jake made a sudden reappearance. My dad had been left home alone as his parents attended an adult-only Halloween party. He promised them he would stay inside the house and hand out candy to the trick-or-treaters. Only moments after his parents departed, there was a knock at the door. Expecting a group of kids in costumes, my dad was in shock and disbelief to see Jake standing out on the porch. He was chomping down on a piece of candy, dressed in a dark clothing with ripped jeans, and sported a backwards hat. It had been about a year, but my dad said Jake looked exactly the same. Jake wanted nothing to do with answering questions about his whereabouts. Instead, he pushed, teased, and under relentless peer pressure convinced my dad to accept a dare to play a Halloween variation of the game Chicken. The rules were simple. See who could stay out the latest on Halloween night without running home scared. Jake was acting very strange that night. The two weren't speaking much, so to kill some time, they ended up strolling around the neighborhood, searching for houses with candy bowls left outside. Their final stop that Halloween was at the local park a few blocks down. It was located on the darkened outskirts of the neighborhood, tucked away from the houses. My dad and Jake would frequent this spot growing up. It had a little league baseball field, and during the summers, the two would spend hours playing home run derby and hanging out in the dugout. My dad remembers it being a brisk October night. As they walked through the park, all he could hear was silence and the sounds of chirping crickets that echoed in the surrounding fields. There were no lights, and other than the glow of the nearby full moon above, the park was an eerie pitch black. My dad kept wondering how the night would end. He tried thinking of several ways to scare Jake, determined to bring an end to the stupid game of Halloween chicken, but nothing clever came to mind. It was going to take more than jumping out behind a corner to send Jake running in fear. The two arrived at the baseball field, only spending a few minutes sitting on the steel dugout bench before Jake stood up and began pacing back and forth. Something visibly had him on edge. My dad continued to press Jake for an explanation, to answer why they were sitting out in the cold. Why Jake had come back so suddenly on Halloween of all nights? When Jake noticed my dad was wearing a wristwatch, he became obsessed with asking for updates regarding the time. He had first asked around 11 p.m., followed by the same question almost every 5 minutes thereafter. Finally, my dad said enough was enough. Jake was driving him insane. He grabbed Jake by the shirt collar and pressed him up against the dugout fence. One last time, my dad demanded answers, but Jake remained silent. That's when my dad finally gave up and decided it was time to go home. To this day, he is still haunted by some of Jake's final words. As he took his final step out of the dugout, he heard Jake begin to softly speak. Be home by midnight on Halloween night, or the Lantern Man will sense your fright. For all bad souls who are not in bed, O Lantern Man will snatch your head. And with your head he will cast a spell. A pumpkin you shall be from now until Hallows Eve. He's real, Jake shouted. He's not some stupid folklore, Halloween tale to scare us. The warnings are true. I've seen him with my own two eyes. I swear to God, oh, Lantern Man is real. My dad admits. His emotions caught up to him. He was freaked out by Jake's odd behavior and his urban legend warning. He did not know what to believe, and it was late. He knew he should be home, not out alone in the park. Rather than encourage Jake's bizarre behavior, my dad decided to say goodnight and continue on his way. Jake yelled out, requesting one final update for the time. My dad glanced at his watch. It was midnight, but this time he decided not to answer. He was only a short way up the gravel path when Jake let out a horrified gasp. My dad turned around and could see Jake pointing out in the direction of the outfield grass. Do you see it? Jake whispered out loud. My dad peered out into the surrounding darkness, and in the distance he could see a faint flickering light. He stood still watching as the mysterious glow moved closer. Attempting to get Jake's attention, my dad shouted out several times that it was time to leave, but Jake was stuck in a trance, continuing to mumble the warning out loud. Be home by midnight on Halloween night, or Lantern Man will sense your fright. For all bad souls who are not in bed, a Lantern Man will snatch your head. The light shined brighter, moving closer. With each passing second, my dad was frozen in fear, blinded by the orange blaze. It was now just outside the dugout, directly in front of Jake. A loud and high-pitched, crackling laugh echoed through the park. In a sudden moment of awareness, Jake began to run for his life. My dad says it was hard to see who and what was hiding behind the light, but he caught a glimpse of what looked like a fire-lit jack-o'-lantern carved out with an evil, sinister face. The two friends ran together side by side as fast as they could, away from the park and back to the neighborhood. My dad, who was quicker than Jake, continued speeding ahead. As my dad approached the porch of his house, he could hear Jake screaming in the distance. But at that moment, he could only think for his own safety and barreled his way into the house, locking the door behind him. He called out for his parents, but they were still gone. He was alone. He debated calling the police, but before he could make any rational decisions, there was a loud thud at the door. He could hear Jake screaming for help. My dad raced down the stairs towards the front door, but the loud cries quickly became a disturbing silence. Nervous to unlock the door, he shouted it out several times to Jake to respond, but there was no answer. Mustering up the courage to slowly crack the door open, my dad peeked outside. He glanced around and was suddenly shaken by yet another mysterious discovery. On the porch, piled on top of the welcome mat, was a dark shirt, ripped blue jeans, and a pair of empty shoes, and a baseball hat. He recognized them as Jake's belongings, the same exact items he was wearing that Halloween night, and hidden underneath the clothes was a giant orange pumpkin. To this day, my dad still is unsure if it was a well thought out prank or if he and Jake had indeed encountered some kind of evil entity that Halloween. But one thing my dad does know for certain, he never saw Jake again. I jokingly teased my dad about O Lantern Man story, and I tried to get him to admit the absurdity of the urban legend, but he held on to his truth. He insisted that the more he thought about it, the more he believed Jake was genuinely scared that night, that something terrible had happened to him, something unexplained. I asked him about the pumpkin, the one he found on his porch, hidden beneath Jake's stuff. What happened to it? If he believed the urban legend is true, did he save the pumpkin thinking it could be Jake? My dad said he left everything outside that night. He was so scared he locked the door and ran straight to his room to hide in his bed. In the morning, his parents asked him what happened to the front porch. They seemed upset. My dad played dumb, hoping that maybe it was just a nightmare. His parents told him to go take a look. He remembers nervously trembling as he approached the door. When he stepped outside, he saw that Jake's belongings were still there, but scattered across the entryway. And the pumpkin, it had been completely smashed. Teenage Halloween vandals? Possibly, he thinks. Or if you choose to believe the urban legend, maybe the old Lantern Man returned to ensure that a bad soul like Jake could never be coming back to celebrate Halloween ever again. Because for Jake, Halloween was never about trick or treating, carving pumpkins, dressing up in costumes, or watching scary movies. His idea of Halloween fun was giving in to the impulses of mischief, causing trouble, disobeying his parents, and staying out past midnight. For those who choose to celebrate Halloween spirit for the wrong and evil reasons, let it be known there is consequences. The old Lantern Man will get you. The fear, my dad said again, only this time he tells me what it means. It's the fear of turning into a pumpkin. It's a real phobia. And because it exists, that means I'm not the only one who has it. I must admit, after hearing my dad recount this Halloween tale and telling it to me today with the same truthful seriousness, I can feel my childhood excitement for horror returning. Once my dad was done, I only had one last question for him. Can you tell me another scary story? What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the old Lantern Man is real, or do you think that he's not in this universe?
I feel like there could be.
Is he like a Michael Myers where he only exists in that town?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, yeah, it is spooky when you think about it. I mean, I feel like there are situations where they do kind of do copycats. You know what I mean? And I do feel like when people make up these movies, these stories, these books, they have to kind of get some kind of some kind of facts out of it to make it a story, right? Like they have to kind of see like a person and make it into a character and then kind of add on to it. I feel like it's possible.
Could be.
Chat, chat, how do y'all feel? How do you feel, Miss Crafty? How do you feel?
I think that every town, especially small towns, have their urban legends, and you
Yep,
never know until you are face to face with that urban legend.
I agree.
All right, are you ready for our next wonderful tale?
Yeah.
All right, this one's called The Town That Banned Halloween, written by McCallum MacDonald. Which, by the way, I would like to say the author's name in the last one was, I like it, on point. Picasso. Sir Scare Me. Like it.
Did I get that one?
Yeah,
Okay, let me see. Scrolling.
made sure to do like big break with a whole bunch of emotes. And then I was like, next story here.
Okay. I see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So for 7 consecutive years, no one has gone trick or treating in Bigelow County. In fact, no one in that r- rural, God fearing little town celebrates Halloween at all. Under pressure from concerned parents, elderly residents, who make up the majority of the ele- electorate in the four churches, all of some form of protest, Protestantism, under pressure from concerned parents, elderly residents. Hold on. I'm like, okay, so the October holiday is banned, has been since 2012. No trick or treating, no costume parties, no jack o' lanterns. Neither the Kmart or Target sells costumes at any time of the year, or even the seasonal bundles of mini chocolate bars. And you have to drive 2.5 hours into Milltown Valley if you want to see a rated R film playing in theaters. Despite the grips, despite the gripes of ununiformed teenagers and former residents, the mayor had not made the decision nor wields any power to reverse it. The decision to bar Halloween was instead rendered by the five city council members: Mrs. Esther Gahan, Mrs. Linda Batali, Mr. Ian Finn, Mr. Ronald Womack, and Mr. Frank Albuquerque. Albuquerque, unlike the others, is not of the Bigelow County. He was born in the city and had moved his family into the small town to set up his business. A towing company, a tower shop, and a home appliance outlet. He doesn't feel the same religious fervor over the supposedly satanic nature of Halloween or care about its pagan roots. Truthfully, if he actually spent time to think of it, he would probably be an atheist, but those reactionary Bible thumpers are not only his substitute, but also his customers. So when it came time to vote on the matter, he didn't have to think twice. Naturally, October 31st of the year of this year starts out as a non-event for Albuquerque. The morning and afternoon passing him by without him ever remarking at the date. Just another Thursday. In the evening, about 8 o'clock, he settled his study, poring over sales reports on his desk with a mug of black coffee steaming by his elbow. He has tried reaching his son, Felix, who runs his truck stop in Coldwater, 5 times on his cell. Each time in vain, he is about to attempt a sixth call when he is interrupted by the doorbell. It rings feverishly. A volley of 6 or 7 rapid dings, as though being pressed by impetuous child. Placing the phone down beside his desktop monitor, Albuquerque eases himself vertical and shuffles out of his study. Another rapid volley of 8 hasty rings doesn't hurry his pace, but deepens, deepens the creases on his brow, puts his teeth on edge. Through the peephole, he can see a small person, not a toddler as such, but likely a preteen boy, maybe 11 or so, wearing a black polyester cape and cowl. Beneath the cowl, Uppercut can make out an orange plastic mask. When he opens the door, he can see the mask is of a jack-o'-lantern face, similar to the one his son had worn for Halloween decades ago, when they still lived in the city. He studies the costumed figure on his front stoop for a beat before scanning the Bascal del set behind him, looking for an adult. For a fleeting moment, it feels as though the two of them are the last living souls on Earth. Hey there, kiddo, he addresses the figure, a forced laugh in his voice. He is standing in agrees before this would be trick or treater wearing a pair of khakis and a button down. His reading glasses still perched on the bridge of his nose. No Halloween decorations of any kind anywhere near his impressive property. Where's your parents, little guy? You know your guardian? The masked trick or treater says nothing. Instead, he just stares up at Albert, the eye holes of his mask filled with shadow. Annoyed, Albert sighs through his nose. Look, kid, he says emphatically, I don't have any goodies for you, okay? I'm not doing Halloween. Nobody around here is, okay? So you and your mother or whoever comes by to get you, tell them to take it down the road. With that, he shuts the door on the masked trick-or-treater's face. Slightly befuddled, he makes his way back to his studies, needing to get a hold of his son more than ever. Then, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, his shoulders punched. Uppercut gives out a sibling grunt before spinning on his heel and charging the door. Eh, he shouts, finding the same masked trick or treater waiting on his stoop. What's your problem? Didn't you hear me the first time? You speak English or what? Like before, the masked trick or treater stares up darkly at Uppercut, attack turn, earnest radiating from behind the plastic pumpkin face. That feeling of loneliness settles over Uppercut. Again, lingering this time, the two of them standing in the island of weak light. Uppercut then wrinkles his nose, finding a belted metallic odor in the air. Perhaps this child is homeless, he thinks. He also realizes for the first time that the masked trick or treater is holding a pillowcase, presumably his sack of candy, which looks nearly full. Who would have given the kid candy? He asks himself, though, given the smell, it might not be anything sweet creating that round bulge at the bottom of the bag. All right, listen to me, son, says Uppercut, bending a knee, staring directly into the dark eye holes in the orange mask. This is a private property, got it? And what you're doing isn't allowed in this county. Now, either go get your guardian or wander back where you came from. Otherwise, I'm calling the police. Again, he shuts the door on the trick or treater, slamming it with emphasis. His mood sufficiently soared. Uppercut marches back into the study, scooping up his cell phone and checking his messages. Still nothing. No texts or calls from Felix. More agitated than concerned, he hisses out a triplet of curses, then begins chewing his bottom lip. Okay. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Uppercut can feel the back of his neck turn red at the sound. He then looks down to his phone, his thumb searching the keypad, cooling off a little, thinking himself a real goon for calling the cops on some kid in a Halloween getup. He opts instead to dial the number for the Child Protective Services. Before completing the call, he sits down, takes a sip from his coffee, now cold, and decides to wait till out, hoping the hell someone shows up, hoping that hoping like hell someone shows up to claim the kid. Sitting slumped in his office for minutes on end, the incessant doorbelling informs Uppercut the child has not disappeared. He knows it would be better to watch him through his den window, but now in the sanctuary of the study, he can't bear face that mass trick or treater again. The thought of the unsettling chill in the kid's stare spreading goose flesh up his forearm. Having waited for the better part of an hour, the first tremors of a headache palpable in his temples. Hypocrite unlocks his phone and sends the call through to CPS. He sits there, listening to the phone ring in his hand before bringing it up to the ear. Having him haven't Having heard a female voice chime through the speaker. Hi there, he intentionally stammers. Is this CPS? Yes, sir. May I ask, where are you calling from? Uppercut rises to his feet, making his glacial walk back to the front door. I'm at 5748 Chestnut Circle in Bigelow County. Look, there's this kid on my stoop, and he's just been standing there for an hour, and I think he might be lost or homeless or something. I see, sir. Do you know where the name and address of this child? No. You see, that's the thing. He won't talk to me. Uppercut inches closer to the door. Rel- Recently, he peers through the people, finding the masked trick or treater still standing there, reaching up to the ring the doorbell for the thousandth time. He's just standing out in front of my door and ringing the bell. He's dressed up for Halloween, but he won't leave, even after I'd said I wasn't giving out candy. Another agonizing stream of doorbell rings. Okay, sir, perhaps you can try again and see if you can get the child's name and address. Nodding his head, Uppercut begins reaching for the doorknob, but then confused, bites into the bottom lip. You've got my address, he then said, more as a question than a statement. Yes, sir, but if there is an issue, can we send someone to check up on him tomorrow morning at his place of residence? You're not going to send someone to pick him up now. He can hear his voice jumping an octave, feeling as though marooned on the desert island and watching a freighter pass by in the distance. I'm afraid, sir. Closest social worker lives about 300 kilometers out of Bigelow County. Believe me, we will call this person tonight so they know to leave the next morning. So if you're concerned about this child for the night, I suggest either phoning your local police station or getting a number for his legal guardian. Okay, got it. Mutters uppercut, exhaling wetly through his nostrils. He hangs up, then immediately dials the sheriff's office. Sheriff's office, Deputy Buckley speaking. Hi, Ted. It's Frank Applicant. Hey, Councilman. How's that new truck stop in Coldwater? Felix, finding it okay? Fine, yes. Look, Ted, I got this kid on my stoop, about age 10 or 11, I think. He's been here about an hour and he won't leave. Do you recognize the kid there, Frank? No, no, see, he's wearing a mask, like a Halloween get up there. Yes, exactly. He causing mischief? No, no, not really. He just keeps ringing my doorbell and won't leave. I've asked him several times. Well, okay, Councilman. Have you spoken to his adult? I mean, they should know there is no Halloween around those parts. These parts. Yeah, that's the thing. He seems to be uncompanioned. No, he seems to be unaccompanied. My bad. I've been looking around and waiting for an hour, and there's nobody here with him. Okay, so I was hoping that you or the sheriff could come to pick him up. I see, Councilman. Thing is, the sheriff and I are pretty busy. Hearing this, Albuquerque rolls his eyes. These cops have the cushiest job in one of the smallest, safest towns in the county, but are making excuses to sit on their lazy asses. Could you possibly just try to speak with one of the young men again? Find out his name, his address, perhaps get a number to call his folks? I've already tried speaking with him, Ted. That's why I'm calling you guys. I understand, Counselor, but it does seem a bit excessive to send a prowler over there for one lost kid in a costume, don't it? I'll stay on the line, but why don't you try speaking to the kid again? See if he's willing to talk and with you now. I mean, you don't feel that you're in any kind of danger, do you? Despite the prickle hairs on the neck and a lump forming in his throat. Albuquerque responds with a no. He doesn't feel he is in any kind of danger, at least logically, he doesn't. Logically, he isn't. He could be. I mean, he couldn't be. Exhaling deeply from the chest, Uppercut turns the brass knob. Son, he addresses the masked trick-or-treater who is staring back at Uppercut with his head tilted to the side, as though not recognizing Uppercut as humans. What's your name? He asks, holding his phone to the chest. The dark, tilted stare holds. Do you speak English? Uppercut asks. Sincere this time. Silence. Utter quiet around them, save for the chirping crickets and rustle of the wind. Do you live around here? He tries again, and his inability to stir a response from the costumed figure, reminiscent of a dream about quicksand. His heart has started firing hard in his chest. See, I told you he won't talk to me. Hypocrite says into the phone. I understand that, counselor. The deputy replies, why don't you hand him over the phone? Let me speak to him. That sounds just right to help hypocrite. Taking a knee so to be eye level with the visitor. Hypocrite holds out the phone. The mass trick or treater doesn't bite. Police are on the other end. Hypocrite says, brandishing the phone before the sunken eyes behind cheap orange synthetic. Take it. They want to speak with you. Nothing. Near his wits' end and the verge of strangling the little twerp, Uppercut leans forward, extending his arm full length to hold the phone next to the visitor's face. When he does, the visitor grasps his arm, catching hold at lightning speed, squeeze in hand, the phone clattering down the concrete steps. Being a small boy, his fingers aren't long enough to wrap around Albuquerque's wrist, but his grip stings like a cobra bite, tearing on the spot. Albuquerque feels an entire body tingle hotly, his ears ringing like he's been kicked in the head, feeling like he's having a heart attack. His eyes squelchly closed. Uppercut feels a sudden rush of vertigo and a sensation of being hauled to his feet. When he opens his eyes, he blinks and blinks again, hoping, praying that he can will what's being from him existence. The masked trick or treater has disappeared. Replace the towering 7 foot obscenity. The polyester cape and cowl have transformed into a black cloak of thick, heavy wool. The head under the sagging hood carved pumpkin is jagged outlines consumed by its growing inner fire. The face morphing as the flames lick and blacken vegetal mimic. Uppercut looks down at his arms, finding obscenity, cadaverous claw enveloping his wrist, oddly crushing the bones. The goose flesh on his forearm is now overcome with boiling, spreading warts. He pulls back hard, only for the cre- only for the creature to release him, sending him teetering backward before landing hard on his buttocks. Inside his home, it is worse. So much worse. The heat is unbearable, humid and unbearable like jungle mist. The walls move, slither, made up now of anaconda python instead of plaster, wood, brick, or stone. Their scales shine with menace, their slick, corpulent bodies writing, pulsating, forming a vertical barrier. Around him, perched on the furniture, are huddled manifestations of the most unspeakable grotesque. Horns, pincers, gray, puckered skin, dying eyes, vast yawning, mawns, nightmares. Albuquerque can be sure if he's in hell or lost his mind. Nursing his obliterated wrists, Albuquerque looks up and sees the 7 foot obscenity has advanced into what was once his home. The visitor has now made his its final transformation. The pumpkin meat has receded into blackened ribs about the face, revealing a chair death mask with a skeletal smile, the teeth yellow and caked with shreds of cooked flesh. The only remnant of the fire now burned behind the visitor's peeled, staring eyes. Met by the odor from above, met by the odor from before, sorry, Albuquerque heaves, feeling deathly ill. It has grown intolerably rancid, spectral, and coppery. A swarm of insects from out of nowhere buzz maddeningly around the room, hovering tellingly close to the sack held in the visitor's grip. That round bulge is still there, though now the bag is soaked through with wet, dripping crimson. And extraordinary torment, Albuquerque plasters his one good hand to his left ear, borrowing the right side of his head into his shoulder. The doorbell echoing like an alarm in his skull, then, like a song changing note, the sound morphs, splittering into syllables of a language Albuquerque doesn't recognize. A language more rasp than vowel, more growl than consonant. Then, as though he has spoken it in his whole life, the meaning of the gut- guttural tongue comes clear to his mind. You do not know. You do not understand the significance of this autumn night. In your ill hubris and folly, you believe you can embargo its chaotic rituals and serve your own sense of normalcy. That you can bear, that you can bar it from your community for the sanity of your souls. You believe in utter ignorance that tonight is when you invite the fallen angel of the god Yahweh into your commune. No, tonight, as it has been for thousands of years, it is night. Your morals give sacrifice to the titans of your harvest, to the old ones who once roamed this planet with unchallenged authority, to sponsor our brief revival into the material world, to exercise our lingering minors, your most carnal and macabre desires from your frail flesh. But as you have broken this promise here in this settlement, Bigelow County, we seek to take the sacrifice owed us. The same sacrifice as was taken by force before this annual treaty of Halloween was ever made. We take what was once yours, what you most cherish. Tears in his eyes, his boils bursting with pulse. Us. Albuquerque witnesses the 7-foot visitor reaching into the blood drenched sack. The smell of the rotten blood embedded inside its sinuses. He observes visitor's corpse, like arm pulling something out, the position of its wrist indicating a grasp on some kind of hook or handle, as if the visitor is unearthly turnip by its stem, by its stem, or pulling something up by its hair. No, cries Albuquerque, choked by the imagine, choked by the image of his worst possible fear. No, 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 no. It can't be. It can't be. It can't. You couldn't. It can't be. Albuquerque screams, pierces the night air, rousing the entire cul-de-sac. At 9:24 p.m., the councilwoman and retired school principal Esther Calhoun is getting ready for bed. In the bathroom, she pulls out her dentures, placing them into a glass of efficient on the countertop next to the sink. In the other room, her husband is snoring. In her slippers and silk nightgown, she pads down the hall, about to turn off the last house light when she's startled by the doorbell ringing incessantly.
That's a pretty insane way to have to deal with Halloween. I'll tell you what. Do you imagine a kid just being at your doorstep, ding, 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 and then all of a sudden it just turns into some kind of monster? Absolutely insane.
I would have left that whole damn house, that whole damn town.
Right? Would have been like, okay, first trip, our first plane, first bus, whatever, out of this town, please sign me up. That's insane.
Well,
I wonder who. I'm guessing his son had probably ended up finding him like that. What would you guys do, chat, if you had to deal with some little kid that you couldn't see his eyes, just ding-a-ling, ding-a-ding, 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 ding at your doorstep?
I've been gone. I don't know. Hey, look, I seen something like that. Yeah, I would have been gone. No second questions. No second guessing. Gone. Gone with the wind. Gone.
If I would have dealt with the kid twice and no talking from the kid, I would have been like, all right, I'm leaving. Like, I wouldn't have even opened the door anymore. I would have just been like, okay, I'm gonna go like hide or leave or something. I'm done. No more.
Gone.
All right. What'd you get out of stuff? You're misbehaving. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Sorry, couldn't help myself. My child is misbehaving. All right, so we're gonna end up ending this whole entire session with one more story, and this is from the father-son-daughter duo from earlier. And this one is called It Came from the Haunted House Across the Street, written by the same Sir Scare Me. I'm out that town so fast. I am with you. I am with you, Arkham. Absolutely. Also, welcome in everyone. I know that some people popped in and we've been reading, so take a moment to welcome some of the newer chat people. Hello, hello. How are you guys doing? How is your night? We're going to go ahead and get into this last story, but we want to hear how you're doing. How are you enjoying these creepypastas? Let us know. So after my dad started his Halloween tale about the disappearance of his friend Jake and the town's O-Lantern Man urban legend, I asked him if he could tell me another story, and he did. Several. We were actually up pretty late that night talking about my dad's childhood. My dad said he had experienced so many terrifying and bizarre encounters, he figured it would be the best to start from the beginning. To give you a quick introduction, my dad's name is Martin, but his friends called him Marty growing up. He moved to a small town in Mississippi when he was 8 years old. It was about a 20-minute bike ride from the Mississippi River. It wasn't an ideal place to live, but his parents could not afford much better. My dad ended up spending the remainder of his childhood stuck in this town. He plotted several attempts to run away, but he wasn't able to escape until shortly after he graduated high school. When his family first arrived at their new home, my dad immediately noticed there was something strange about the house across the street. It was 2 stories, but the top half leaned to one side like it could collapse at any moment. The old house was an eyesore for the neighborhood. Every glass window had been shattered and boarded up. It had once been painted a light green, but most of the color had been chipped away, revealing the dark rotting wood underneath. The front yard was nothing but dirt, with a short staircase leading to the roof-covered porch. When my dad asked his parents, who lived there, they told him it was empty and that he should never, ever go near it. My dad's bedroom window faced out in the direction of the street. He had a direct view of the decrepit house, and as the days passed, he started to notice that both his fear and curiosity were intensifying. He began waking up with nightmares, terrified that something might be happening across the street. After his parents would tuck him into bed, he found himself frequently getting up at night and staring outside his window. He wanted to make sure that all appeared safe before closing his eyes. About 2 months after moving in, my dad stood in front of his window late one night. He noticed that there was something unusual about the house. It had always been an eerie pitch black, but that night there was a light on the porch, ominously flickering in the dark. He was afraid, so as any young child would do, he went to wake his parents. His mom and dad followed him back to his bedroom, and together they peered outside his window, but the light was gone. The pitch black darkness had returned. My dad swore and promised that he saw a light, but his parents assured him it was probably just a bad dream, kissed his forehead, and tucked him back into bed. The following morning was the first day at his new school. He would meet some of his friends in his third grade class. It was Jake, Boone, Grady, Parker, and my dad, Marty. They would call their group the High Five Troop. They were inseparable and would frequently show off their super secret high five handshake in front of their fellow classmates. They were definitely the cool bunch on campus. The boys were immediately fascinated when they found out where my dad was living. They each had their own stories about the infamous house. They shared that their parents had also warned them to never go near it. There was a lot of mystery surrounding the house, and their stories varied. But one thing they all agreed on was it was definitely haunted. Every night, my dad would continue to check outside his house, or outside his window rather, to see if the light had returned. About a week or so passed when he was woken by a strange noise. The days had been warm, and he would leave his window cracked open at night to catch an evening breeze. He silently laid in bed, holding his breath, trying to determine what the eerie sound was and where it was coming from. He soon realized it was resonating from outside. It was a repetitive, high-pitched creaking, like a rusted door hinge opening and closing over and over again. He got up and stared out his window. The light had appeared once again, flickering on and off. However, this time he could see that the porch was not empty. Something was swaying in unison with the odd noise. He rubbed his eyes and slapped his cheeks, hoping that it was just his imagination or a bad dream. But he was wide awake, and the light flickering held just long enough to reveal what was making the disturbing sound. Seated in a tall, rounded chair was a woman, and with each creak movement, she slowly rocked back and forth. My dad was frozen in fear and remembers trying to scream for his parents, but all that exited his lungs with heavy breath and heart-pounding emptiness. He watched as the woman slowly sat up from her rocking chair. The tall, mysterious figure began to rigidly walk down the porch stairs, across the dirt yard, and towards my dad's house. She stopped in the middle of the dimly lit street. My dad says she was standing hunched over with long gray hair that covered her face and dangled past her waist. He could see that her hands were raised out in front of her. She was holding two long crochet hooks and moved her hands back and forth as she stood knitting in the middle of the road. He was able to snap out of his state of paralyzing panic as he turned and raced for the hallway, began hysterically crying at his parents' bedside. My dad tried to explain what he saw to his worried parents, but says he was barely able to speak clearly. His parents were finally able to calm him down, and his mom spent the rest of the night in his room comforting him. At school, he shared that he had witnessed what he had witnessed with the rest of the High Five troop. They were captivated, and his stories sparked the boys' imagination with suggestions on how my dad should approach the situation. One such bright idea came from Boone, who sarcastically recommended that my dad just walk over, ring the doorbell, and introduce himself to his freaky neighbor. This got a good laugh from the group, but unfortunately led to the concept for their final plan. The boys had been told stories about the haunted house next door, but Jake, Boone, Grady, and Parker were ready to see it for themselves. So one night, they arranged to have a sleepover at my dad's house. They did not all fit in my dad's bedroom, so they set up their stuff to camp out downstairs. With the hopes of catching a glimpse of the strange woman, the boys devised a plan to take a ball of yarn from their school's art supply closet. They would sneak out before it was dark and string each end from house to the other. They believed that if they were lucky, the knitting woman would take their bait and follow the line back to my dad's house. Why would you do this? I'm sorry. Jake was brave enough and volunteered to run one end of the ball of yarn up to the porch while the rest of the troop kept watch. It was a success. The plan was now in place, and all the boys had to do was wait. Absurd idea, right? My dad asked. Maybe just a little bit. I admitted in a playful grin. Well, we were just a bunch of third graders, but guess what? The plan worked. My dad continued to elaborate. The idea was that the boys would take turns staying awake, and whoever was on watch was equipped with a flashlight and was ready to wake up the rest of the group if anything suspicious happened. The nearby kitchen window was left open for the purpose of both running the other end of the yarn inside the house while also listening for the sounds of the rocking chair. My dad stayed up for the first hour, handing off the flashlight to Parker before settling into his sleeping bag and falling asleep. He's not sure what time it was or who was supposed to be on the lookout, but he was startled awake by a loud and familiar noise. He sat up, looking out the room. It was hard to see in the dark, and my dad started calling out to his friend, nudging them all. Who has the flashlight? My dad kept asking in a loud whisper. Boone had fallen asleep during his watch. He was alerted awake by my dad's commotion and immediately turned on the flashlight, shining it in the direction of the creaking noise. The rest of the group was now awake, and together they gasped when the light revealed an empty wooden rocking chair, rapidly swaying back and forth in the corner of the room. Where did that come from? Boone asked, startled. The boys were all terrified, huddled together and unsure of what to do. Suddenly, a deep, raspy shriek came from the darkness behind them. Marty! Marty! The voice cried. Boone turned around, shining the flashlight into the direction of the kitchen. Standing just beyond the open window was the mysterious woman. Parker was the wimp of the group and screamed, jumping into his sleeping bag to hide. The rest of the boys gripped each other tightly and interlocking arms. Marty! What is your favorite color? Marty! What is that thing? Jake shouted. How does it know your name? My dad was just as afraid as the rest, and even more disturbed to hear the unfamiliar woman calling out his name. Boone was shaking. As you could see, he was struggling to hold the flashlight straight. The woman was slouched over, just her head down. With her head down, her hands were moving quickly back and forth as she was holding onto her crochet hooks. What is your favorite color, Marty? The woman shrieked again. As she began to move closer with one stiff and rigid step at a time. My dad was speechless in a state of complete terror-stricken shock. Answer it, Grady shouted, shoving my dad in front of him. Marty, tell me, Marty. The woman had slowly walked her way from the kitchen and was now towering above the terrified kids. She slowly lifted her head, revealing a ghostly face hidden underneath her long gray hair. She stared directly into the beam of the flashlight. My dad still vividly recalls her sinister appearance. Her eyes were dark, empty holes. Her face was sickly white with wrinkles on top of wrinkles, and the bottom half of her jaw dangled loosely like it was dislocated. Marty, what is your favorite color? Marty! The woman scowled one last time before my dad shouted out his response, Blue! As soon as my dad answered, the flashlight bulb exploded. The room was again pitch black, and all at once, in unison, the boys all let out a horrified scream. Then, suddenly, the lights in the room turned on. "What in God's name is going on down here?" my dad's mom hollered. The boys were all frantically looking around the room, but there was no sign of the woman or her rocking chair. Everything was in order, like nothing had happened. The boys tried to explain what they had witnessed, but my dad's mom was clearly upset by their raucous behavior. They promised they would keep quiet for the rest of the night, but requested that all the lights be left on. This is the first and one this was only the first of many bizarre encounters Jake, Grady, Boone, Parker, and my dad would experience. They all came to the agreement that they had indeed seen a ghost that night, but the story doesn't end there. Not for my dad. The boys never saw the spirit of the rocking chair woman ever again, but my dad is pretty certain that she came back to visit him one last time. A couple of short months later, it was Christmas. The last gift my dad opened was tucked behind the tree in an unwrapped cardboard box. It had his name scribbled across the top in a messy cursive handwriting. He slowly broke the tape seal and peeked inside. "What is it, Martin?" his mom asked in excitement. He reached inside and pulled out a fuzzy, hand-knitted sweater. His mom began to smile. "Wow, that is beautiful. Who's that from?" "It didn't say," my dad responded, as he could feel a rush of fear-induced panic beginning to course through his body. His family never determined who the holiday gift was from, but Dad says he immediately knew. The first thing he noticed when he pulled out the sweater from the box was that it had been hand-knitted in his favorite color, blue. My dad says his mom forced him to wear the sweater that year for the family Christmas pictures. Somewhere at our house, stored away in the attic, are some of my dad's old childhood photo albums. He insisted that if you look through his pictures, you'll find the one of him wearing the blue sweater. It is a Christmas my dad will never forget, and a haunting gift he wishes he did not receive. So the ghost you saw, do you have any explanation for who, why, or how the heck it knew your name? I asked. "Well, we are talking about the supernatural, so anything beyond understanding is impossible," he retorted. "But I remember that Christmas my mom kept saying the sweater reminded her of something Nana would have knitted." "Did you ask your grandma if the gift was from her?" I replied. "Never had a chance to meet my grandmother. I'm not even sure what she looked like. We had no picture of her," my dad responded in a softer tone. "She passed away shortly after I was born." "Sorry to hear that. I never knew that happened," I sympathized. "So then you're saying you think maybe the spirit you saw was..." "You choose to believe what you want," my dad interrupted. "In the town I grew up in, your truth is all you had because nothing made sense." My dad paused for a brief moment. "To answer your question, yes, I do think I was visited by the spirit of my Nana. But what else did I have to believe? You see, without creating your own interpretations, finding a plausible explanation for the improbability of what you experience, you would just go crazy, and some of us did." My dad ended his story by saying he still has a lot of unanswered questions about what he and his friends saw that night. But there was one thing he did know for certain. He never wore that blue sweater ever again. Well, Grandma, you didn't have to come and scare me. Am I right, guys? Grandma didn't have to come in like that.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. These stories have been really really interesting. I feel like every creepy pasta that we've done has been like whoa, like kind of makes you think. Like I know the Halloween one is like, yo, if I seen some kid knocking on the door, ringing the doorbell numerous of times, and then starts to transform, yo, I'm gone. That's it. Never. Yo, you can have a house. Hey, move in. I found
you
something
wanna
else.
you wanna pay the mortgage? Go for it, kid. Have fun.
I'm gone. I'm out. There's no way. There's no way. Nah, I'm good.
That is, yeah, I love reading creepypastas because every one that you come across is so inventive and like they have so much variety, anything from very short, like 2-minute stories to long pages upon pages of stories. So I love creepypastas. And I love that other things have spawned from creepypastas. Like you had the SCP Foundation, um, and that came from creepypastas along with like Slender Man, the Rake, all that kind of stuff. My
Yeah.
favorite has to be the SCP Foundation, and I would love, and this is up to you guys. I don't know if all you guys know about SCP, um, but I would love to read some and almost do like a narrated like case study where it's like, oh, we're gonna brief you guys on this thing, and then read the narrations and the documents of the SCPs. I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
You guys let us know what you guys are enjoying and what you guys would like to see more of.
I agree. Feedback is always important. Reach out to her, reach out to me, let me know any ideas that you guys would like to see and Spookalicious, and we'll make something up for y'all.
Absolutely. So we love to hear your guys' feedback. We love to make sure that you guys are enjoying it or, different ideas. I even have ideas of like making sure that I have a blank sound list so that like the ding dong could be done or a knock or whatever so that while we're reading we can do this or that noise. So, but that's if you guys want us to continue doing the creepy pastas or other reading of stories.
I see you. I see y'all. Hey, I just want to say that I appreciate all y'all and much much love, and yeah, if you guys got any ideas for us, just throw them out there, and we'll come up with something great for y'all.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to all the supporters over on YouTube and the Tulip fam over on Twitch right now. Love you guys so much for your support. You guys are absolutely amazing. Each and every supporter that came here tonight to watch or listen to this was, y'all are amazing. Y'all are the best. And I hope that you guys have an amazing night tonight and a great day tomorrow because you're great and amazing and you are all loved.
What? Yes, Miss Peaches and Queen, my twin. What is going on? What happened? Okay, okay. I got you. I got you. Most definitely. Okay. All right, we're gonna rate out. Let me see if the person I was gonna rate out to is still streaming.
Oh, hello, thick boy. What are you doing?
Okay. All right. Let me see. Go to this. Go to this. All right, thank you guys for coming through, showing love support. You guys are truly amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and raid out to OG Lady Goddess. Love you guys, and see you guys real soon. By the way, tomorrow Discord party to celebrate 3K and Miss Jinky's birthday. So make sure you guys tune in for that. It's gonna be great.
That's awesome. I'll have to tell her happy birthday tomorrow. What time is the Discord party?
7:30
Central.
Central Standard.
Yeah, I'll have to tell her happy birthday on the side. I'll be streaming tomorrow for some more Dead Space. Hopefully, I can actually finish it.
Right. All right. Well, y'all have a great night, and we shall see y'all next time.